This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it is time for How to Superage with Elise Marie Collins. And, Elise, I have to tell you that now that I am coaching, I am finding so many women between the ages of 50 and 75 who are saying, I would love to know how to age more gracefully. And so my comment is, well, you've got to listen to How to Superage because truthfully, we can avoid aging if we want by putting our heads in the sand, but we're all going to do it if we continue to live. And so it's all about making the best of who we are. So tell us what path we're going to take today to learn how to superage.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm so excited about our guest today, Jacalyn Prete, or Jackie as I know her. And if I said your name wrong, you can correct me.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. I've known her for many years, and I feel like I might have known her for many lifetimes. She's a fabulous yoga teacher, and she's a group leader. I'm going to read her bio in a moment, but I just want to say on a personal level, I'm so excited for this conversation because Jackie helps especially women, but I think she helps people of all ages to, as you said, age gracefully. Yoga is one of my top tools for aging well, and I think with wisdom. I've been thinking a lot about what makes us wise as we grow older. It's not just the physical, but it's also that integration of our, I want to say our internal self. You could call it the spirit, you could call it whatever you want, but I really think yoga is a great tool. So that's why I'm really excited to dig deep. I'm going to now read uh, Jackie's bio because she's a very accomplished woman. She's a certified Anusara yoga teacher, trainer, and she's at the highest level of teacher trainers. That's 500 hours. I know she's got a lot more than that, but she's at the highest level that they certify. She shares a deep passion for the wisdom and the teachings of yoga and therapeutics with her students in New York City. She's taught in Japan and Europe, and I know she's taught in China also. And she brings 30 years of teaching experience to her position as the co-founder and former licensing director of Anusara School of Hatha Yoga. She's also a certified yoga health coach, and that's how I know her. We were both we went to a lot of events as yoga health coaches, and we really love that community. And I know that uh, Jackie is also still teaching this wonderful form of coaching that is health based, but it's also got that kind of wisdom, spiritual component that is Ayurveda. So she shares her teachings of Ayurveda with students all over the world, and her signature online course is called the Vibrant Living Tribe. I'm going to say that one more time. The Vibrant Living Tribe. It's a beautiful name. Tell us anything that I may have missed in your bio or just a little bit more flavor about you, Jackie.
Wonderful. Oh, just thank you for that great introduction. I'm also my background in yoga came from the Siddha yoga lineage. The teacher is now named Gurumai Shivalasananda. So that lineage also had a huge effect on the origins of Anusara yoga. And I connected with John Friend when he was at the ashram, and I went to be at the ashram with him and got reconnected to the Siddha lineage. At that time, I had met Baba Muktananda in the early 80s, right as he was kind of leaving the US for the last time. So there's a lineage behind this practice that is so incredibly powerful. And it has an international community all over the world. And Baba Muktananda was called to the West to bring introduce this practices of meditation was the main course. Hatha yoga is sort of like a side dish in the Siddha yoga tradition. So that being like one of my core practices has really informed how I'm teaching. I feel so much gratitude to have found that community. My brother introduced me, and then he dropped out of yoga, and then I just sort of like it just opened this whole new world to me, and I got to connect with people from all over the world through the Anusara community and City Yoga. So that's a part of my background that, not everybody knows, but I'm now doing Seva for them. That, I'm also a singer. I used to be an actress in New York City before I became a health coach and yoga teacher and aerobics instructor in the early 80s. All that crazy background. And so that really informed, my path, where I'm going, and how it I was introduced to yoga in a purely physical way. Even though I'd met this teacher, I didn't even really connect it. I thought yoga was this fitness thing that everybody in the gyms were doing in the early 90s. Like, oh, we're just going to do yoga. We're going to get strong. We have yoga butt. So then this whole shift happened as I connected to John, and then went, wow, there's two dots were connecting. How I was introduced to the more spiritual path of yoga first. I went away from it, got reconnected through John Friend and the Anusara community, and here I am. And just like, it feels like destiny that connection happened. And I'm so grateful for the background of the spiritual underpinnings of the practice that
Thank
I've been
you.
given.
Yeah, and just to maybe reiterate for any of our listeners who, you don't have to know all the names of the gurus, you don't have to know the lineages or any of the, so we were kind of name dropping celebrity yogis. So a lot of our listeners may not know what we're talking about, but really what you said, the essence is it's an ancient practice, it's international, and I heard how much it resonates with your spirit. And so it really brings to mind that it's a physical practice, but it's also an internal practice, a spiritual practice. I used to teach kids yoga, and we didn't always say meditation for the kids going in. You need to go inside, which is not always done in Western society. It's often focused on external productivity and things like that. So going inward is not always our top priority, but I think for aging, it's super important. Um, and that'll segue to just how has your yoga practice, spiritual, meditative, and physical, how has that helped you on your journey through life,
Well, it's
aka aging?
yeah, aging is like, it's there in front and center for all of us. As we get older. I'm 72 this year, so it's quite dramatic to see the body go through different changes. And yoga has really supported me through menopause and through like shift and changes this decade, now the 60s, now the 70s. What do I need to do to stay connected to spirit, but also let my body continue to strengthen? I had a diagnosis of osteoporosis, and I thought, well, I'm going to have to take these damn drugs. I know they're wonderful, but there's got to be an alternative. So I decided, well, I'm going to integrate all that fitness background and my yoga and see, I said to my doctor, like, can we do this experiment? Maybe I can add more physical, weightlifting, which I did. And then the anti-inflammatory diet that you and I teach from the Ayurvedic health habits, from my body, my living, my program. So that really shifted the way my body processes, food. And so I was getting more nutrients from my food. And then lo and behold, I reversed my osteoporosis. I'm now in osteopenia, and we're still working on it. I've added 2 days of weight training a week. So that's helped me, with a scary diagnosis like osteoporosis. My sister had a fall and snapped her legs, so I saw that there was other ways of dealing with this other than taking drugs. And so that's been a really big opening and discovery for me in that way.
That is super cool. Because what I also heard is your confidence in what you teach, even when there is adversity, such as a scary diagnosis. And I think that to me is the heart of my practice. It's not that I'm going to avoid all the things, Sometimes people project that onto you, I think, as a yoga teacher. Oh, well, you don't have these problems, Elise. I'm like, yes, I do. But but I have cultivated a confidence in my practice, in my ability to work through things that sometimes, people go straight to the Western medicine, the doctor, and that's not a bad thing. As you said, you know, the drugs are really great and there's good things about that, and it doesn't work for everybody, but it does work for many. But for me, it's like, and even with my pet, you know, I was talking about my dog. It's like, let's try these things first. If that doesn't work, then we'll go to the medication. Let's try these things. I have experience, you know, and that really makes a difference. Either having a skilled facilitator like yourself, and I know your people in your program, you probably have some success stories along those lines too. Having that confidence, because there, yeah, there's the Western way and then there's a traditional way. And it's hard to navigate when you don't have the experience. So I applaud you and I love that story. Maybe do you have any stories of your students, and I don't know what you call them, and those in your vibrant living community? Because I
Yeah.
know you've been doing that for a long time, as long as I've known you, and it's such a rich reward to help others on their journey. Do you have any wisdom along those lines or stories?
Yeah, people come to me with different issues. Like some people have like had chronic, weight issues going up, going down. They lose weight, they bring it back. And so I have a number of people who've lost a tremendous amount of weight. Somebody in my current group lost 45 pounds. And, all we did is introduce intermittent fasting, more plant-based foods. And, when do you eat? When do you not eat? When can you have rest your digestion? And we know we do a couple of cleanses a year, very gentle. I'm not into the, starvation water diet for 7 days. No, thank you. I like to eat, and I don't. So you eat food on but these guys still lost 45 pounds, and just a huge shift in his energy and his ability. So that effortless weight loss, and he says, I've not dieted once. It didn't a diet at all this whole time. This was just like a miracle. And then that's happened a number of times. I've got other people in my group now, 25 pounds each. And these girls are, not only do they lose weight, but they're like the confidence in themselves and their work and how they feel and how they look, and just total transformation in that area. Then there, people with sleep issues, people with chronic digestive issues, immune disorders that have had huge shifts and changes in how their body, heals. You can just see a shift and change. So that's been exciting. Somebody came in with chronic pain in her joints. I ran into her after the pandemic with her little dog, and she goes, I can't do yoga. I'm in pain all the time. I said, let's talk about this, and brought her in. And, month 3 of doing the program with me, her pain disappeared. That all kinds of other benefits happen for people. I had somebody who was an author like you, and he is also a journalist, and he was trying to write a book and work and had a busy job. And he came to my yoga classes, and he saw my body kind of. I started doing I lost around 20 pounds. He said, what are you doing? I'll have what you're having. So we got together, and he was in my pilot group for this. And he said wrote the book that he'd been trying to write for 6 years in like 3 months. He finished it. And then he said, my relationship with my wife, which was always really wonderful and fantastic, got incredibly more sexy. He said, just like so much more intimacy. And he said, because I had more energy. He was now waking up in the morning and writing versus staying up late and doing my evening class and then being stimulated and eating late at night. And, he said it was like transformation not only happens physically, it happens in the spiritual, mental, emotional. People more confident in themselves, being able to stand up for themselves in work and family situations. It's just been such a gift. I had no idea when I started doing this. I knew it's going to be like, oh, we're going to lose weight, we're going to feel better in our bodies, but so many layers. We talk about in the layers of awareness, right? In yoga, where there's the physical layer, then that's the energy layer, then it's the mind layer, and then it's the intuitive body, where your creativity comes. You see shifts all the way. And then people are just on a much more positive outlook. People who've had depression and anxiety for years start to lighten up and go, I can get off these crazy meds. I feel better. And they do that with their doctor, by the way. I never tell people to mess with their medication unless they're doing it. Anyway, so
So,
those are some of the testimonials.
so I have a question, Jacalyn.
Sure.
There's obviously and methodology that you use with your clients. And it obviously can't be exactly the same for everybody because everybody thinks a little differently. Um, as a coach, it took me a good year of coaching before I could really start to say to individuals, you are an individual. Okay. This may have worked for me. This may have worked for another client, but let's talk about your commitment, what it is that you want to do. So, are there any certain methods that you can use that we can get an idea of what it'd be like to be part of your practice?
Oh, so great. Like how do you motivate yourself and how do you stay motivated? And one of the best ways, and they've done research on this, Karen, is that you get yourself in a group of people who are motivated, not only motivated, they help and support each other. So like at any one moment, it's the image of the geese. The geese, they fly in formation.
Yeah.
Then there's that head goose. He's up here, right? And then he's got taking the full force of the wind, right? Then at the back, there's the people, the little geese that are like tired. They're just riding the foil. So the little goose in the front has to go into the back, and then another person comes up, another goose come up there, and he starts flying at the hard speed. So we support each other because there's going to be like this. You do a program like this or a commitment to this, a membership program like this, you're going, wow, I'm having a great time. Boom. And backsliding, went back, fell apart, can't do it. And then now I'm pulling somebody else along with me. And now I need some support, help, 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 help. So this constant pulsation and the holding of a sacred container, not with just the physicality, but with the spiritual support that you get from meditation, from I offer my people yoga class every week. Come to yoga, come to meditation. There's a meditation practice on a daily basis you can tip them. So with that support and the commitment, everybody together, we're all in, right? We're all in. Yeah, yeah. They get all excited, and then transformation happens by being in the soup with people who are, because you'll in life, what's going to happen? Come on, let's go out for cocktails. So I want to have dinner at 9 o'clock tonight. Will you come up to dinner? Your friends don't have the same commitment
Right.
to shifting or transforming their house. So you got to be around like a little flock of geese that are trying to fly to the next place. Isn't that helpful?
Beautiful, beautiful. And I love that. I love that metaphor. I'm just really sitting with it. Do you have all ages in your groups? Or I mean, is it intergenerational, or do you work with a specific age group?
I would say, a lot of my people are like more my age, but I have attracted, I've got these two young moms in the group right now. They're in their 30s, mid 30s, and going into the millennial people. That's where we sort of like hanging out. I've even had people in their 20s in my group. But I'd say the main ingredient is more, like menopause up to the mid 70s, and then that's and people are really committed to like what's at stake. This is always just what's at stake here, guys. Is it just feeling better in your body, or is it really I want to transform the way I age? Like you, I love your book, Superage, Elise. It's like I give this to people like you've got to commit to it. I say it's like running a marathon. You can't, November 4th is a New York Marathon. You can't start training on November 3rd.
Yeah.
Too late. Right? You
Right.
got to train every single day,
Yeah, yeah,
days off, etc. But that's
yeah.
the
The days off are intentional.
absolutely.
I love that. Now, do you work only in person with your group, or is it online? How do you do those meditation classes daily and
Yeah.
yoga? I think you said weekly or something like that.
Yeah. The weekly meditation, there's meditations all online. There's classes I do online and hybrid. If you happen to be in New York City and you want to get a live class with me, you're going to come to the World Yoga Center. I have had a person in my class today who was from Finland. So, there's people from all over the world taking class. There's a woman who comes to meditation from South Korea. It's nighttime here, with morning here. So, we have people from all over the world for the meditation. And I have 2 classes a week that are purely therapeutics. I work with massage balls, you know, the yoga tune-up balls. You guys have heard of that. So I
Yeah,
use them. So a lot of massage techniques, self-massage, very gentle. I have a 91-year-old in class. She's up and down off the floor. She's took me out for my birthday. I mean, she's just fantastic, and her sister both come. And then there's also classes that are a little more rigorous, and sort of like an open level class at a gym, and
mhm.
those you can take hybrid. So this morning I had 10 people in person and another 12 people online, and I, I've been doing this since the pandemic, so I can run around the room and keep an eye on the folks at home. So that's, it's fun to see, to be able to connect with people who left the city. Like that woman from Finland came in to visit. Now she goes, I want to study with you. So come to class. So it's
Oh,
great. It's been great.
that is so cool. That is super cool. Now I just forgot my next question, but and it'll come back to me. And I guess, do you have any questions while I'm thinking?
Well,
But
that's, the idea of like what is required to become a super ager. What are the, if you want to become a super ager, Elise, you could probably talk for hours on this. What kind of person is attracted to this kind of lifestyle shifting transformational practice? In your practice, what have you noticed? Who jumps in and who's a little hesitant?
I think there are people that are they're experiencing life from a deeper level. We could call it spiritual. They're not just on the surface. They could be any age, but they're recognizing there's something beyond just their physicality, because I think our culture teaches and the whole thing is like, how much are you doing? And that's where we get into the whole thing of ageism and, what is valued. It's productivity, and there's nothing wrong with being productive, but there's also a need for downtime. There's a need for, something else that can't be as tangible as like your bank account or your chronological age or something. It's a whole big mess. So I appreciate everything that you said, and I did think of my question. So my question was, and it kind of ties in because I'm talking broad strokes about culture. What about, I know you've taught in China and I think other places. When I knew you, you were doing some workshops in China. Like other cultures, I think they have different struggles, different approaches. I speak a lot about Western culture because it's pervasive around the globe, the ideas, that I've spoken about. But what do you find when you're teaching, say, in China or other places? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, and Japan, both of them, they're a little bit different, of course. And I'm next week I'm going to Belgium, Amsterdam, and right outside of Frankfurt, and the European Kula for Anusara is really strong. The Kula, and they're very strong in China, and a very strong Kula, which means a school for the higher self, for the Anusara community in Japan. What's happening with the culture, and I've been, in touch with people in both areas, is that they seem to hierarchy the teachers who have the most advanced practice. So
Mm.
if you are a person who can handstand in the middle of the floor, that's sort of like opening criteria for becoming certified. It's like, wait a minute, 99.9% of the students you're going to meet, anybody who's a yoga teacher like you, Elise, well, it's like can't do handstand. And, they want to just feel good in their body. Can you connect them to their heart, to the spirituality underneath the teachings of yoga and share that? And also help them individually with their therapeutic issues. That should be the highest, the people who are ranked highest on the chart of the people who you should be studying with. You shouldn't be studying with just the person who can get you into one-armed handstand. That's fantastic. If you're a gymnast and you want to do that, that's great. If you want to work with really high athletes, absolutely. But the majority, so that the values of who are the teachers do they want to study with happen to be, they hire over and over again these high echelon of physical practice. And then when it comes down to everyday teaching, you talk to those same teachers and like, how do you work with beginners? How do
Mhm.
you keep them coming back? How
Mhm.
do you work with elders? How do you work with people who have back issues? have a chronic knee pain, can't be on their hands in downward dog. What do I do? Somebody comes into class. So you have to teach them skills, not just the skills of high asana. So that's what I've trying to talk them into. Also, the inner self-inquiry, we know that is part of, if you've ever taught yoga teachers, which I have, trained teachers, it is the student, is the teacher who wants to be a student, a teacher, is the training teacher. Are they able to do the deep self-inquiry that's required to be there and hold space for someone's spiritual transformation? That's so important, way more important than physical prowess on the mat. Who cares, really? I mean, you have to know skills to get somebody into an advanced practice if they come and show up in your classes, but it's way more important. Therapeutics. How about somebody who comes in with chronic anxiety and depression?
Yeah.
How do you help them find a place of home and stillness and safety?
Yeah.
Not by trying to push them into a handstand, that's for sure.
I'm
Wow.
glad that you said that, Jacalyn, because I mentioned this to Elise a while back. I had another friend who said to me, come to my yoga class. Don't worry what you can do, even if you just sit on the mat and don't do anything, that's okay. And here I was trying, and it was a month before I was having knee replacement. So I was in pain, and I just couldn't do anything like other people. And she kept pointing it out to the people around me, like, oh, Karen can't do that. Does somebody want to show her? And it was like, you told me I could come just sit here and observe and take it all in. I'm trying, but I'm in pain. So I walked away from that. Um, but I've been, viewing other instructors online. And what I love is I can do it my way, but I can get the message from you. I can feel it deep inside. So I may not be standing on one leg and balancing, but in my mind, I'm balancing. I'm finding that balance. And I think that's what you're talking about. We all can do it, no matter our age, no matter our physicality. There is a way to do yoga.
Yeah, and just to be giving yourself permission. Like this morning, I woke up with a backache. I'm like, oh my gosh, what a day. I've got to do this. I got to do kirtan later. I'm doing call response, evening of chanting. And I like, how am I going to get through the day? And I just like, be honest. I shared with my students. They could see me kind of struggling to get up and off the floor. It's like, we're not perfect, like Elise said, but you have to like, when you have compassion for yourself and say, I screwed up. I did my weightlifting right on a day when my back was off. What a silly thing to do. That's not skillful.
Right.
But we don't have to be perfect. But like when you have permission as a teacher to say, I'm not perfect at this. I'm still learning. I'm learning right along with you. I love that it's part of the teacher training is to tell students like, we're on this trek up this mountain, right? I'm the leader because I've been doing this longer than you, but I'm on the path myself. I'm still learning. I'm in total humility to my teachers and to the people came before me because man, I have still so much to learn. I know, even after 30 years, just really beginner mind for teachers who you want. You want to study with people who are always studying themselves, and then you feel safe. That's not person arrogantly saying, well, see, you can't do it, but watch the person next to you. No, instead of coming over to you and whispering in your ear, if you want to just do child pose here, that's great. Like whatever it is that you need.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I don't point somebody out. I put them next to the wall. Here's your wall. You use that wall, please. Or I'll put a chair next to them. Hold on. I go to the JCC? The
Yeah.
JCC, you guys, they say, you're getting a chair. It doesn't mean you need it, but just it's there for as safety. This is your insurance policy. If you feel a little wobbly, hold on to the chair. And, they try to do the whole class without the chair, but it's okay. They're taking responsibility. I've set a safe container. And I love that you're mentioning that, Karen. Like, you want to feel permission,
Right.
come and modify the class for your needs. And also to have a partner and the teacher going, I'm going to give you suggestions, like a serving suggestion. You don't have to eat it. Try it. If you don't like it, that's okay. You leave it aside, try the rest,
Yeah.
Perfect.
I love this discussion, and it speaks to what we started with, how are we aging? If we're going in that with that paradigm of like it's all physical, then that's, the yoga class where the teacher is doing a handstand in the middle of the room and thinking that everyone else should be doing that. And I have to say that I'm a little out of that paradigm at the moment because I've only been teaching gentle classes, and I have been working with more disabled students and the disabled population, people with living with disabilities, I should say, disabled, various physical, mental, and sometimes intellectual disabilities. And that is so much to me more about the spiritual connection. And that's what interests me in yoga. And we do need strong bodies because you're the perfect example, Jackie. As we age, if we want to be active, if you want to do all these things in your day, you want to teach a yoga class, be on a podcast, lead people chanting in the evening. We got to have we got to be up for it. That's the training.
This is
So it all comes together. But let me just ask you, why do you think that some people maybe, again, this is what's interesting to me right now, wisdom. What is wisdom? What is wisdom to you? And how can yoga help us become more wise as we age?
Oh, that's such a deep question. Number one is like people who are curious and they keep learning. Like I run into elders all the time. Oh, I'm learning a language. I'm traveling, but I'm not just traveling, to taste a lot of food or whatever. I'm learning. I'm in a learning community. I'm taking classes. These people just keep expanding themselves, hiring a trainer at different times in their lives and just saying, like, I can't do this. I need some support. You see this people really like having a strong commitment and they're not like giving up. Okay, I'm retired. I don't have to do anything now. I'm going to watch a lot of television and and you see them, they're starting to, the weight creep starts to happen because they're sedentary. They're becoming more and more sedentary. And I'm like, I don't want to shame anybody for gaining weight as they get older, but my heavens, you can stay in good shape. Don't have to be perfect. Don't have to be the yoga body that looks good in Lululemon. It's just that you have to have functionality. And if your joints are desiccated because you're sitting too long, the actual movement lubricates joints called synovial fluid. If you're not moving it, you're losing it. And there's going to be a deterioration of mental acuity, physical acuity, your sleep gets infected. It goes on and on. Dementia's coming. Look out. You've got to really stay active. If you want, we talk about health span versus lifespan, right? So health span is you want to be like this. I heard about this 100-year-old that was driving his 92-year-old friend into the city. I mean, like, what? Because he's sharp, he's working on his body every day, you know, and the person who couldn't drive now is like starting to deteriorate a little bit. She's not working out as much as she needs to. So, this is up to us how we age. Now, a certain amount of it is genetics, let's face it. Most of my family died in their 70s and 60s in my particular nuclear family. My brother gone at 76, my mom at 74, dad 68. So I know what my gene pool is. It's not great. So are you going to sit there and go, oh, well, woe is me. Let's have another cocktail. Let's eat another, some more sugar. It's like, I see members of my family who are doing that. They're just like, I just want to go on another cruise and that'll be my joy, instead of like, I can invest in my physical health and well-being. And that will mean I will age more gracefully.
Yeah.
So, I just wanted to say again, who are the people that are attracted to this? The people that are willing to look at what's the resistance, for opening up your vision to what's the possibility of your health healing trajectory. Can you keep improving and getting stronger? I am way stronger than I was 20 years ago. In many ways, in much better shape.
That's very inspiring. And I'm seeing your inner actress or that side of you coming out. You're funny. I'm keep laughing. I'm like, I hope this is not messing up the recording
No,
because I'm
she's not.
laughing. I'm like, you should maybe I see like a stand-up show or a one-woman show. I could see you. I totally could see you about all these things, but I don't know. That's reality. But I really like your delivery and you're funny.
Thank you, dear. It tickles me that life can be so much more fun if we start taking care of ourselves. It's like there's two paths, right? We got this path going downhill, and there's one that keeps getting better and stronger and more resilient. You're talking about resilience. You need resilience to deal
Yeah.
with. As we get older, what kinds of shit happens? Like your friends start to pass away and they get more isolated. You got to keep working. Like I have some people who are coming on retreat in their 80s. One woman just one person in her 80s and one person in her 70s or 60s. She just retired and she wants to connect to a community of people that are like her.
Yeah.
Go. Yeah, that's what I want to see. And then I have younger people coming on retreat too. But it's like, try something different. If you keep doing what you're doing and expecting different results, there's a definition of insanity right there. Wow.
Love it.
Who said that? Einstein, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I love this. It's so beautiful. And I know we're gonna link to all your websites and everything, the resilience, just yeah, just so many messages that I think people of all ages can resonate with. The ones that, the ones that are ready, because as you said, some people are not ready. There might be, and that almost seems like there is kind of a fork in the road. Like, are you going to go towards learning and expansion, or maybe just, kick back? And you need a little bit of both, but it's intentional kicking back. So the paradigm that's presented now for many people is really outdated, and I think you're attracting people that are ready to push that envelope. So I just really love that, and it is very inspiring, and I love that you work with all ages, because that shows it's not just physical. When you see probably that student that's in her 90s doing whatever her practice is, that's going to inspire you. I know if I was at any age, I always love to see, inspiring elders.
Oh, this just like incredible, right? They're skiing it in their 80s or they're running marathons and there's that like what?
And we have to presence, that's something probably you share with those that you're training to be teachers. Like the number one group that's growing population wise by 800% is centenarians, and then 85 and up. All those age groups are just exploding. So you know, you're going to have those students in your class, whether you like it or not at some point, unless you're teaching something like a handstand workshop, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is where we're going right now. We have a lot of elders who need taken care of and learn to take care of themselves in a much better way than just taking a pill. This is,
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that you teach, this vibrant living community, and we're going to have those links in the show notes. Is there anything else that you want to leave us with today as we kind of close out the show? Any other words of wisdom? Because I know you're filled with many, many, many more tidbits and
Oh gosh, I was watching this show on, see if I have it real quickly. Chopin. Just 1 second. Come here,
and
Chopin.
maybe Karen has a question as well. I don't want to
No, I'm
shut.
just
I was
I'm
going to
so
say,
grateful for what you do, Jacalyn,
thank you.
because I run across so many women from 50 and up who are saying it's too late. And it's like, no, it's not too late. I started making my transformation at 55. I wasn't going to let anybody tell me that I couldn't do what I wanted to do. And, you know, you talk about as we get older and maybe have this extra weight, and doctors a lot of times will say to you, well, you're older, it's hard to lose weight. And I really struggled. And I finally found a doctor who said to me, it may be difficult, but you can do it. And I'm going to show you the way to do it. And I have not felt this good in years because he looked at everything and he said, you're taking all these vitamins, but they contradict each other.
Mm.
And you're taking these medications that don't go with vitamins. And we weeded out. I take 5 pills a day. And some I absolutely have to because I haven't found another way to reduce those symptoms. But I've learned to believe in myself.
Mm,
And that's how I started losing weight.
it's so exciting.
So
So exciting.
if you can find a guide, whether it's Jacalyn, Elise, or someone else out there, it's not easy to do it on your own.
Yeah.
But when
Yeah.
you find that community, whether it's a community of one or hundreds, you're going to be successful. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Karen. Can I
Yeah.
read this real quick little quote, or you got it? So it says,
Oh, no, please go ahead. Yeah.
okay, so this is from this quote from Chopin, and it so resonated with me last night. I was listening to this beautiful music because there's so much emotion in his music, right? Beethoven challenged the universe. I decided my universe would be the universe of the human heart and the soul of man.
Wow.
And I feel like the work that we do, Elise, all of us, Karen, is like connecting us to the human heart and getting us to be able to feel so strong and resilient that we can be vulnerable with each other, and we can see people's creativity coming out, the joy of who they are. Anandamaya Shakti, it's Anandamaya Kosha, the center of who you are is filled with bliss. And it's just covered. We just need to let go of the veils that cover our blissful core. That's who we are. That's our birthright. So when we see the work that we're doing, all three of us and many other coaches around the world that are helping people to find that beautiful core of who they are, this is God's work. We're just here to, as little
That's right.
conduits, to help people find that. That's inherent in every one of us.
Thank you. I love that. And the final thing that I'll say is what you're speaking of, I think it makes aging and living joyful. And that's something I don't hear enough. I heard a speaker recently say, I love getting older, and I just want to hear that more and more. And your work makes me feel like that's going to happen.
It's all possible. It's possible to have aging be a horrible, destination. I don't want to resist with everything I can with lots of plastic surgery, or it could be just this incredible unfolding of the wisdom. We are now at the place of synthesizing all this wonderful stuff we've had all our lives and being able to give back. I don't have kids myself. I have great nieces. I love them. I've got 4 of them. I've got my nieces. And I have my students, they're like my kids. I want to be able to pass the teachings along to them like all of us do. So
Beautiful.
We will have all your information in the show notes, and I hope our listeners will follow along. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a peaceful day.
thank you.